When we look at the action from today, specifically on the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, what's happening there, then we go into semiconductors and kind of where there was some overall strength. It's pretty weird, like all things considered. So you see the Nasdaq or SPY specifically here moving up, but again, moving up with low volume. One of the things that we wanted to see in order to get a reversal, some type of signal, was increased overall volume. I'm going to tell you why this, in my opinion, looks terrible. Now, the other part of this is you go into stocks like Nvidia, and which has been one of your better performing names over the past 48 hours, right? Nvidia bounced up, but it got to the point of a massive breakout and then did nothing. And this is, again, going back to volume and relative what's happening with the broad market. Now, the other part that I would talk about here too is what's happening with CPI. Because again, CPI did come out pretty damn amazing. Like all things considered, CPI was pretty good, pretty solid. And this is why the market reacted so well. Came out, I think, the lowest you've had. Again, let me go back and just look real quick, as you can see with me. Yeah, core CPI right here, month over month, 0.2 versus 0.3 expected. Beat core CPI year over year, 0.31 to 3.2 expected. So again, great across the board. And then obviously a headline as well down. So you look at this, and overall, the viewpoint you would assume, and if you take me back last year or pre-Donald Trump, I would say this is very bullish. This is awesome. But again, what is happening with the Trump administration, what's happening with tariffs is, in my opinion, you're trying to get conflict. You're trying to make the Fed a little bit uncomfortable. But as of right now, the Fed is getting more and more comfortable, and they've said they don't want to cut rates while everything is going as expected and the market isn't really in pain. Now, you might see stocks taking a hit, but the market as a whole, unemployment numbers, etc., point to a different argument, right? And so that might start to pick up here in a little bit. But when we go into what's happening with the SPY, again, let's talk about where we're at. Now, again, I want to go into some of the other stuff here in a second, but I think it's important that the first thing we do is really identify where we're at on the chart. Now, the big level here on SPY, like you mentioned, was around 565 down to like 561, 560. And it was these previous highs back from in July, right? And again, you've noticed that you've now stuck below this area, right? You go into the NASDAQ, for instance, NQ futures. And guys, I recommend if you're trying to trade right now on scalp, I think futures are probably the best bet for most people here, right? But what I want to go back to really quick, just get rid of all the levels, a little cluttered mess here. But again, as you're getting back into that level back here as well, that March 13th high, what was happening there as well, and you're getting back below that. But then also going into this as well, really weird. But again, it's that 19.5 level we talked so much about that was so hard to get back above. And for a better part of the day, you stayed above that level. And this is the part that gets really weird, is you're above that level. And again, these are just intraday levels. We'll get rid of that real quick. These are your main levels here, right? And this is your previous low that you had back here on March 7th. You can see as you drag that across, that's right where that was. And you'll see here, you get CPI this morning, you pump up, you kind of open up flat, you dump. When I think Trump stops talking, you dump, you pop back up, you dump again, right? Just terrible overall action, right? And the other part here is you're making lower highs here on the NASDAQ, right? QQQ should line right up with this as well, right? Lower highs clearly here on the NASDAQ, right? And so when you look at that, it points to this idea of like, why didn't buyer step in? Because you're getting above your resistances. You're getting the opportunity. Like, it's like if you get Usain Bolt, right? You got him in perfect shape. You're like, we're finally here. We're at the Olympics. This guy's about to run his 200 meter. No one stands a chance, right? Just get him to the race. Get him right there on the track. Right? And that's what we did. We got NASDAQ where it needed to be, above your level. Semi good news coming out with inflation, right? This is what you wanted to overall see, and then you just flop all day long. And where things get more interesting, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I recommend doing so, again, so you can get the updates throughout the day as well. But again, posted them on here earlier. You got no overall buying. Just no volume. I'm going to go into that here in a second, but again, posted it here on Twitter. Now, also too, guys, I do want to let you guys know, if you are interested in seeing how we're trading, what we're trading every single day, I'll tell you right now, it's been slow the past 2 days because we've been range trading and you haven't really got any clean action. But if you want to trade futures and what's happening there, futures have been, again, the best opportunity out there. Guys, every single morning we go over futures, what we're expecting here. This morning in particular, Dow, we talked about it. We said we're looking for that push back down to that level 41,005. Look what happened. Look where you pushed right down to, found support right there at that level on Dow, right? Go into Dow. Can't make this up, right down into support, bouncing right off of it. But again, where we're at, you go into NASDAQ, what are we looking at there as well? Again, all futures, ES, Dow, etc. is all there. right? Yesterday's resistances, yesterday's highs, and that's kind of where you ping ponged for the bulk of the day, right? Kind of where you ended as well. Also, we go into stocks, what's trading there as well. I think the only thing we traded today was Nvidia as far as stock. Took forever, slowly pushed down, didn't get target 2, hit target 1, but still decent trade on the day. But if you're interested, the link is down below. It's where we trade all day. And if you're joining Discord round, just know Jay is on a little bit of a vacation until next Monday or this coming Monday. So he'll be back. So if it's a little slow, a little quiet, it's because only half of the Discord leadership is there. Me and Jay run everything together. So make sure you tap in. Now, going back into what's happening with the market and where we're at. Again, I think it would be silly to not acknowledge what's happening here. And again, it's the same thing you're seeing across the board is, okay, CPI data came in good. Inflation is handled. This is very good. The market's going to bounce. It's going to be phenomenal. But what you really want to see, again, go to the daily chart. Again, like this is primarily what people need to do. Look at your volume, man. Your volume was piss poor. I already showed you SPY's volume, so you know volume was bad there. But again, volume overall, you don't need to get high volume for continuation. You typically want high volume. Again, I say all the time on reversals, right? Or breakouts, typically where you expect to find it. And we got it all this breakout to the downside, right? And so you're seeing a little bit of buy volume coming in, but it's just, we'll see it tomorrow. We'll see if it comes back in. But overall right now, you're not seeing any. And you can see again, sell volume hit right here where you started to reverse, came back in, sell volume spike right there when you reverse back down. So you would like to see buyers get more aggressive, right? Even on something like ES, the S&P or SPY, right? Negligible volume, very low. Lowest volume going back into like probably the 26th of February, right? So important to understand where we're at and how you're moving. The candle you formed here also pretty lackluster, not good overall. So again, we see this notion of, okay, inflation data, this is good. This is what you want to see. No, the reality is inflation data and interest rates weren't what was pushing us down in the first place, right? We have to understand and acknowledge that first, right? What was pushing us down from highs? If we're being totally honest, transparent, etc. Right? Let's just get rid of all the drawings, okay? What started pushing us down and changed everything from up here on the S&P futures, right? Well, because interest rates were still high up here. The Fed said they weren't going to cut this entire time, and you're still making higher lows. So what changed right here? Well, again, Trump started implementing tariffs. That's the problem. That's what's happening right now. And you're seeing other countries now come back out against it. And they're seeing what they're saying. Because again, if you're tariffing someone, they're going to respond. Like, this is a trade war. That's what's happening. EU came back at them and said again, they're basically warning them, don't do this, don't do that. Trump basically went and gave a speech and was like, they've been taking advantage of us. This is what we're going to do. And this is not a political statement. This is just what is happening out there right now. And so you're getting back and forth between these nations. This is probably one of the more interesting visuals too from actually CNN. They give you a good graph. So again, you get the 25% steel tariffs, aluminum tariffs, which is better than the 50% tariffs that Trump threatened yesterday. But again, this is a better view. Like, so when you look at what's happening, like with EU and China, yeah, they're being tariffed, but like Canada's the one taking the big hit here. Steel imports, Canada's a big boy. Aluminum imports, Canada's the big boy, right? So it's important to understand which countries are being hit the hardest. China's attacking Canada as well. We talked about that over the weekend. So again, they're the ones really getting hit. And so again, this will impact us. The question is just when. And so people keep saying, and I keep seeing this on social media, it's priced in, it's this, that. I don't think it's priced in. I really don't think that it's priced in based off of unemployment numbers potentially rising, the Fed taking forever and clearly being behind, like lagging the system as we've seen for the past 2 years almost, right? So I don't think it's logical to assume that they're that this is just priced in. I think that's a silly statement that we've gotten used to saying over the past year, right? And again, all the tariffs aren't even here. We will continue to maintain our countermeasures and increase them on April 2nd. Again, the reciprocal tariffs. Well, that's just another icing on the cake that hasn't happened yet. And something you'll notice as well, you go into, and the next time Trump speaks, just watch the chart. I kid you not. He talked, and I was listening to it in Discord earlier this morning, but this is where it opened, and you kind of popped up. So Trump started speaking back here. He talked for a while, and then he got off like right here at 561. He just stopped talking. The speech was done. And the markets are just pulling back immediately. It's almost like the market at this point is trying to price in him reversing or changing his mind. So again, if that's and I don't want to say that's fact or anything like that. So that's just my opinion based off of how the market moves every time he talks. My opinion going into that is like, man, is this really a healthy environment to be in? Is this something that we should really think that is net bullish, that we found a bottom? If every time Trump speaks and he stops talking, the market goes down, right? You have to take that into account of what's really taking place there. And again, when you're going into this administration, you're trading this administration, or you're trying to short-term trade the market, you have to understand this is polar opposite from the Biden administration, okay? Volatility is 3x the amount, right? You're getting a candle on NASDAQ that's 50 points in 1 minute, right? SPY's moving $1 up and down. It's very quick, which is awesome for day traders. But again, long-term uncertainty in the market isn't good. It's not good, right? You have no certainty at all. I would argue that the Trump administration is the most uncertain administration that we maybe have ever had. Like, I'm just saying. And that's why you're getting the volatility. And if you disagree with me, I mean, that's okay. But I'm just saying, I mean, look at the movement you're getting on NASDAQ. Like this, I mean, although NASDAQ really did nothing on the day, made lower highs and technically higher lows throughout the rest of the day, really look at what happened. I mean, you started the day at CPI at basically 19.78, basically 19.8, right? Day opens up here. You drop down from 19.77 to lows of 19.4. You bounce back up to 19.7. You dip right back down. Dude, it's just 300 points up, 300. This is great overall movement. Good intraday trading. But again, if you're trying to focus on trading like some of these stocks, it's going to be tough. Like look at Microsoft, right? Back and forth in a range. Look at Amazon in a range, right? Today you have a decent move off of Tesla, but after open, it's in a range, right? And so that's why I'm saying if you're hyper focusing on trading stocks and you're going to get chopped up here. Like that's just what's going to happen unless you're trying to swing or you're catching something overnight. But even then you're at a lot of risk there. So when I'm looking at what's happening with the market, I think the opportunity is clearly futures. Like I've been very clear about what's happening there and how I would take advantage of it. So again, what I'm looking at as a whole. Now going into tomorrow, am I bullish? Am I bearish? Am I interpreting what's happened basically from today? I think today's action was pretty terrible. If you follow me on Twitter as well, and again, I use Twitter as an example because again, I try to at least post my thoughts of like what I'm thinking throughout the day for you guys if I'm not posting too much stuff. But you know, this is what I said. And this was around 11:40, right? Today was really interesting. Obviously, gapping up on NQ was nice, but the dip was expected. The part that caught me off guard was the reaction from buyers at lows. If we can end the day over 19.7 or even better at 19.8, would be pretty happy for, it would be a pretty solid day for buyers, right? Just on my phone, sorry. But again, you just made lower highs. Like that's the craziest part. You get no buyout, you get no continuation. And as we step into equities, you start to see what's even crazier. Because look at NVIDIA. Like this is all NVIDIA did. And maybe it's setting up for tomorrow. Maybe it's setting up for tomorrow, right? But NVIDIA is just doing nothing. Like this is literally piss poor, right? I mean, you have a level here at 15.8. Like it's a SR level that we have marked out. Again, you can see going back here from, 2024. But again, you just stalled. Look at volume here too. You get end of the day, but you got a little bit of volume here at 12:45, but nothing. It just depleted, dead, gone. Right? AVGO, great open, lower lows and lower highs for the remainder of the day. And look at the volume. Now, I'm not saying you need to see rising volume throughout the day. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you don't see any spikes and it's just depleted over. I mean, again, you get volume at the end of the day as you expect and at the beginning of the day, but between those times, really nothing. You go to Apple. Apple, despite the market looking good all day, Apple, again, end of the day red almost 2%, pushed all the way down to 215 to 214.7, which is our key level there. Crazy. You get stuck below your previous day lows as well from again yesterday, Tuesday, 217.5. So you have, again, and these are my top names obviously in NASDAQ. You guys know it's the big three from me, right? You have NVIDIA, Broadcom, Apple, right? And you just have stalled movement. And I would say two of them, Apple and AVGO, really looked the worst. I think NVIDIA all day long looked like it wanted to run. Like it really, I was like, what? I couldn't, in Discord, I was like, this is crazy. Like I was totally expecting NVIDIA run. I was just totally expecting in NASDAQ to at least, at the very minimum, get a test of 19.8. But again, you see the hand, right? And you're not going to get clear answers in the sense of, is this a clear buy or is this a clear sell? What you're going to get is slight signals and indicators from the market. And when you see the market like this, where every bit of volume here today, if you go like to the 5 minute, the 1 minute, you can really see it. Every spike was primarily from sellers, right? You can clearly see, right? This is just the NASDAQ. So this is very important to be able to identify, right? So you can see, right? Spike of volume, selling, right? Right? You get a little bit of a spike here. This is your only real spike when Trump starts talking. And then after that, spike of volume from selling, spike of volume, selling. Then another spike, a little tiny spike, but still something, selling, right? It's primarily all selling with the exception of Trump getting on stage, which in my opinion is crazy. Like, again, sellers had no continuation today, which is cool. Like good news, right? But the problem with that is that buyers had absolutely no continuation, and buyers and sellers weren't even stepping back in the market. Buyers would just give up. They would fold. They wouldn't do anything. And that's the real problem here. Buyers were just reacting out there and really just trying to hold you above 19.5, which again, that was good. But the fact that you're making lower highs here is just nasty. I'm not a fan. It's ugly. And then again, you go out to something like the 4 hour, the 1 day time frame, and look what's taking place here. I mean, I would argue, if we just let's just, I'm gonna hate getting rid of all my levels, but it is what it is, right? Look what's happening here. Like just a clean, fresh chart. This is what's typically been taking place. You get below a massive level, right? You reject, you shoot down, right? That's what's taking place. Now, look at where we're at. Look at the action you're getting, right? Low right there. You're clear as day. In my opinion, looks like a flag on the 4 hour chart. Clear as day. Sitting there. Looks like it wants to reject. Nasty 4 hour candles here. Sellers leading here. Again, not what you want to see. What do you see when you go to higher time frames? Like go look at the daily, right? The past 2 days. Again, you're getting got higher volume at lows, but then declining volume back into that level. Signals more of continuation. Now, again, I want to be totally transparent. I am not swinging puts. I am not short right now, but I'm just outside looking in. I don't see what's making you bullish here. The more I look on Twitter, the more I look on social media, and I say it every day, nothing's changed. Nothing's really changed. So if I'm trying to get bullish, I mean, ideally what I want to see is it like above the 200 SMA, obviously, but like at least give me like above 19.8. Like at least break the previous low that we had. Like, you know what? You got to get something. You got to have some sort of signal that buyers are stepping in. And you're just not getting that right now. Now, again, tomorrow you could hypothetically find a bunch of buyers, but I'm just telling you where we're at right now. You have PPI tomorrow morning as well, but I think CPI was way more important. And that's really what I'd be tracking. So again, as I'm looking at the market, that's how I'm trying to just keep my head, stay balanced, not overassume anything. And again, going into today, I definitely had more of a bias of expecting some upside, at least some sort of bounce, retracement. You just didn't get it, right? Now, again, going into equities, what am I looking at here? NVIDIA, you're at a pretty big level here, right? Now, I'm looking primarily, this little top level right here is your gap fill right there, like 117. But right now, you're stuck at this level here of 115.8. You're right there. So you stay below this, you look bad. You get above this, you have upside room. I can see us getting back into 119, possibly 120. Apple, dear God, I don't know what's happening here with Apple. This is disgusting. But go look at Apple. You go to the daily time frame. This is another big thing you have to start looking at is you're at major supports. Apple breaks below 215. What happened last time? When you broke 215 last time back in August last year, you dropped down to 200, 195. I'd be looking closer to 208, 207, but it's still very, very concerning overall. And I definitely would be keeping my guard up here. Tesla, I see a lot of people getting high on Tesla right now. The big level I'd be watching again is where that gap was filled right there, 255 roughly. Again, you can see we obviously found buyers from there as well. You had a nice little bull flag, I think, from yesterday into today, into the end of the day. I'd be watching how we react there. Maybe you get a gap fill, but I'm not getting crazy on Tesla yet. Get back above the 200 SMA, we can talk. I'm not trying to spot a bottom or anything like that right now. Amazon, you guys know I like this below 195.4. You just can't hold. You held below at the end of the day, below the 200 SMA. It's setting up really nice. And it took extreme self-control today. I wanted to actually swing calls overnight. I really did. But when you look at how we held on a lot of these names, I'm like, I wanted to hold puts. I was like, Jesus Christ, I want to have something now. Like this was a terrible, terrible day. The only thing that I'm not doing it is because you have PPI tomorrow, and I just don't want to get some stupid reaction to it, right? And then get FOMO'd out of a position at market open, right? So again, what I'm looking at. But when I look at Amazon and I look at some of these plays, again, you're just going back into it's like they're just repeating. It's just breaking support, retesting support, and saying, gonna go short, right? It's just like daring us. And again, it just looks terrible. I can go into launch with Microsoft, right? Microsoft is grinding below 386. You're like, what is this level, Tyler? Well, go look at the daily. Previous lows since January of 2024. This is January, right? This is 2024 lows. You are now sitting below at 385. Nobody is talking about Microsoft sitting below 2024 lows. Why? Why is that not a conversation? This is a terrible chart. This is truly a remarkable, terrible. This is like, looks like it's clearly going to start distribution, the Wyckoff, whatever the hell you're talking about right there. Clear as day, looks like it wants to just tank, right? And I could go through a laundry list of these names, right? So it's very important that we're looking at, look at Meta, sitting on support right now. So again, at the very least, the point of this is don't FOMO, don't YOLO, just be patient. I keep seeing people buying calls and going if you make money, I'm happy for you. I really am. But I don't understand why we have to rush in. And it's like I'm saying the same video, and I see the same stupid comment. So I'm like, oh, well, we're bouncing. And then 2 hours later, you're not bouncing. I'm like, oh, great, riddle me this, right? And so that's where you're at right now. So if you have questions, comment down below. Twitter link, Discord link, all that's down below as well. Appreciate you. Have a good one, traders.